U37 Beacon Plumbing had the fastest qualifying on Friday at over 158 miles per hour. Saturday, Dave Vilwalk and the Elam stepped up the competition, going over 161 miles per hour. But the story of the day was the ride Dustin Eccles took in the G17 as he flipped up and over the Columbia River. Heat 1A was a deck-to-deck battle with Elam just nosing out Jimmy Cooper in the U3. And 1B was taken by the Oh Boy Oberto when the Beacon Plumbing was disqualified for a fuel violation. With 4 more heats to go before the finals, it should be anyone's race to win.
You're watching Rumble on the River. Presented by Yakima Regional Medical and Cardiac Center. Live on KNDU TV, Richland, Tri-City. KNDO TV, Yakima, Ellensburg. KHQ Digital 6.3, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. And broadcast worldwide with live streaming video at KNDO.com and KNDU.com. Rumble on the River TV coverage is presented by Yakima Regional Medical and Cardiac Center. The Pit Cam is brought to you by Area Code Cellular. The Legends of Racing are brought to you by Yakima Nation Legends Casino. Our Inside Racing Reports brought to you by Chiefs RV. And Hydro Flashbacks brought to you by HydroInsider.com.
And good morning, everybody. We do have a bit of a delay. We've got wind on the river right now, some whitecaps as well. Mark Allen along with Steve Montgomery. We're hearing gusts of 30 miles an hour and a hold of about 30 minutes. We were scheduled for Heat 2A at 11:05. Now looks like 11:35. Steve, whitecaps and hydros don't go together.
No, but this race course really does handle wind very well. And optimistically and completely unofficially, I can tell you the conditions here are pretty good. I think that half-hour delay will be more than enough to get the river settled down. There is one team in the pits, however, delighted with this delay because they are literally standing around watching glue dry. Yesterday, the FormulaBoats.com 2, that's one of the former Budweisers, driven by Mike Allen, the sensational rookie out of New Orleans, Louisiana, tore the bottom off the boat. It was one of those break the propeller, suffer a lot of damage things. That normally means about a week of work. This team decided to try to fix it. They went to Seattle for parts and actually brought with them a couple of former Budweiser crew guys. We heard that Mike Campbell and John Reinberger might have been on the 8 o'clock plane last night and spent the entire night helping that team fix this boat. We are hoping it'll be ready, and our Scott Reister, our pit reporter who's done a great job for us so far this weekend, talked earlier to driver Mike Allen on how the repairs were coming. Let's see what he had to say.
Thanks. We're here with Mike Allen, the current points leader in the ABR season, but you guys obviously have had a lot of work to do. Tell me what's been going on with your boat.
Yeah, we since the heat yesterday when we ripped out the bottom because of a blade that we threw, we had to replace the strut that you can see back here.
Let's go this way. Come on.
The strut, which is right here, the shaft log, which is further up in the bottom of the boat, it ripped that out. It split the gearbox in two. We basically changed out about an 18-inch wide section, about 3.5 feet long, on the entire bottom of the boat, which is honeycomb aluminum. So everything there was replaced. The rudder bracket itself and the rudder were all broken. We had to have those re-welded. We had people fly in last night. We had parts flown in last night. And just a huge effort by our team who has not slept a wink. And they're just, they're running on empty right now.
Brand new propeller, I see. Is this flown in as well?
Nope, we had the props in the truck. It's just not our best prop combination. So when we do make it out there, it's going to be with what we got.
And the status right now, what do you guys expect to be ready to go, and how will that affect what you guys can do as far as winning the Atomic Cup this weekend?
You know, we're going to play it by ear. The whole thing we're waiting on right now is for this glue to dry. It's imperative that that glue sets and does what it needs to do. Otherwise, we'll take a chance on doing the same thing and ripping the bottom of the boat out again.
Let me see those hands. You got some cuts to scrapes? Or pretty clean, huh?
Not a whole lot. They let me pick up parts. That's about it.
Well, he is the only one in the entire crew that actually did get some sleep last night. They figured he better be awake. He's the one driving the machine. We'll be staying with this story the rest of the way. But for now, back to you guys in the booth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Scott. We are watching and waiting, and that 35 minutes is going to be of a big help. You know, normally if they say it's watching glue dry, that's boring, but for these guys, it's not.
The Atomic Cup happens to be the 5th of 7 races in the ABRA circuit. We want to get you caught up to speed so far this season on what's happened so far leading up to this point.
Look at this! Second place, folks. Here comes.
The season has started off perfect for Dave Villwock driving in Eric Elstrom's U1 Miss Elam Plus. He won at Evansville and at Madison, Indiana, beginning 2 for 2 and leading in the points. The Madison race unkind to Steve David, who spun around in this crash. He would be okay. After Mike Allen won at Valleyfield, Quebec, it was time for the Gold Cup. With Villwock resting due to a crash the week before, the race belonged to Jean Theoret in the U37, the first ever Gold Cup win for the longtime driver.
Chiefs RV brings you Inside Racing.
Though a rookie on the Unlimited Tour in 2006, Mike Allen joins the circuit as a 3-time inductee into the American Powerboat Association's Hall of Champions. For the last 18 years, Allen has won national and international championships in K-Racing Runabout, Super Stock, and 5-liter classes. Allen was given the chance to drive the U5 during testing at the Nashville race in 2005.
With the chief referee. Tell me exactly what the process is and what we're waiting on to get the racing started here.
Well, right now, because of the wind that's out on the course, the chief referee, Don Malillo, has been out there, and he's determined that at this point it's a little too rough for the boats to go out there. It's a safety issue. So we're hoping that the wind will die down in the near future and we can go racing. Right now we're on about a half-hour delay.
Is that a call you're going to make in another half hour? Do you just have to reassess the situation? What's the process there?
They're up on the judges' stand right now, and they're assessing the situation all the time. They're always going through it, and they're looking at the water and hoping that we get a window where we can put the boats in the water and go racing.
Kind of point out the water right here. Over here it looks okay. Is it worse a little later on in the course, and does this just get magnified when the boats actually get out there and start racing?
Exactly. The bad part of it is out at the top of turn 2. That's where the most of the wind is coming through the course and making it tough on the boats. And once the boats go out there and start churning up the water with all the chop and everything, it does magnify it, make it a lot worse.
All right, Barry, thank you for the information. So they'll be waiting as long as they have to. Hopefully, maybe in a half hour, we will get the start of the Atomic Cup underway.
Well, the conditions yesterday were a little better than today, but I can tell you, Mark, right now where we are at start-finish, which is obviously about halfway up the race course, things really look pretty good. There is a rough spot we're hearing about up in the turn to our left where the wind tends to build up. It's rougher there. The boats have run up the backstretch into the wind, and I think, Mark, they want to wait for it to settle down just a little more up there before they let us go racing.
In the meantime, we had 2 heats run yesterday, heats 1A and 1B, and let's take a look at what happened yesterday in heat 1A.
We are a minute 40 seconds away from the start of Heat 1A as racing gets underway here in the Tri-Cities, the 2006 Atomic Cup. Let's set the field for you. We have 7 boats set to go, led by a familiar face, Mark.
Dave Villwock in the U1, the defending Atomic Cup champion, the Miss Elstrom Elam Plus.
Kevin Aylesworth, his first time driving an Unlimited here in the Tri-City. He is a rookie out of San Diego, California. He will be driving the boat known here as Area Code Cellular, the U21.
And Mike Allen, a bright red boat. You might recognize that. It's a former Budweiser, the U7 FormulaBoats.com. Mike's a rookie from New Orleans,
but currently leading the national high points. Terry Troxel being shown here as the driver of the U13. We don't know if that's the case. We think it's J. Michael Kelly in the boat. We'll correct that for you if we're wrong.
Jimmy King in the U3, the only piston-powered boat in our fleet, the Conover Insurance.
Looking at Dave Villwock's boat on the backstretch, here is
there's Jimmy.
A familiar face, Jimmy King. Picked up a sponsor this morning for the turbocharged Allison-powered U3. Jeff Bernard, in his second year of racing, still doesn't have a full season under his transom. Been racing outboards for a long time, as you can see. He'll be in the U99 Lake Ridge Paving.
And we're about 20 seconds away from the start, Steve. It looks like we've got, I can't tell whether that's Jimmy King coming up on the inside. It looks like it is.
Jimmy King has the inside.
He has the inside.
Right next to him is the Formula Boats with Mike Allen, but the leader is Jeff Bernard out ahead. He had to slow down a little bit, actually. Now Allen makes a move. Now Bernard puts the hammer down, and he's going to be the leader at start-finish.
As they come across, Jeff Bernard leads them. Dave Villwock just outside of him to the right, but Mike Allen and Jimmy King on the inside of him as well. So we've got the lead boat about
3 lanes out, and they are headed to turn number 1.
And I think I was wrong. I think it was the yellow and green boat that was leading, and that would be J. Michael Kelly. Oh, Jimmy King got very high in the red piston-powered boat. He was on the inside, used that to his advantage, and he will be the leader the first time up the backstretch with piston power. It's Jimmy King.
Jimmy King, and then Mike Allen, the FormulaBoats.com, too. He is chasing Jimmy King down. Dave Villwock hidden in the rooster tail. We're looking at Jimmy King in that piston-powered U3 Conover Insurance halfway up the backstretch. This is a boat that ran a 161-mile-an-hour lap. And, Steve, as they come to the entrance at turn 2, it's a dead heat between our second and third place boats.
That is Dave Villwock pulling up on the outside in the bright orange Elan Plus. As they turn toward us now, you're going to see all 3 of them. That's Jimmy King in the right of your picture with piston power. Now the 2 boats off to the left that will just come into your picture now. Look at Villwock in the orange boat. He is coming hard on the outside, and he's chasing Jimmy King into turn 1.
Jimmy King still in the lead as they head to turn 1. Dave Villwock has chosen the outside lane in a couple of races already this season. He thinks he can chase everybody down, but Jimmy King still has the lead. You're looking at him, and there comes Dave Villwock on the outside of him. He's closed down now. He's only in about lane number 3. He's chasing down Jimmy King as they come through the turn, and Mike Allen has fallen back now, a full rooster tail, and it looks like he got a little wet. He's slowing down halfway up the backstretch. It's Jimmy King, and on the outside, Dave Villwock.
Mike Allen got in between boats, and I believe he did get washed down in the turn, so the FormulaBoats.com has been hit with a rooster tail and is dead in the water on the backstretch, but we have a good 2-boat race. You are looking at Jimmy King in the piston-powered U3 Conover Insurance. Now, as he turns toward you, you will see off to his right the bright orange Elan Plus of Dave Villwock. There he comes. We have a 2-boat race still. It is Villwock chasing Jimmy King at the end of lap 2.
Lap number 2 with Jimmy King now a full rooster tail lead, but Dave Villwock is pulling ground on him as they come down the front straightaway. Second place at the end of lap 2, Dave Villwock, and now the field is very, very well strung out. Jeff Bernard is dead on the backstretch as well, but we look at the boats go into turn number 1. Jimmy King on the outside, Dave Villwock, or rather Jimmy King on the inside, Dave Villwock on the outside. They're dead even as they come off that turn, and they've got traffic ahead of them.
They are coming up on Chris Bertram driving an Unlimited for the first time. He was back there where he was supposed to be in the trailer position, minding his own business, and now the boat race is going to surround him as the 2 leaders go up the backstretch. Look at this picture, side by side. The red boat is piston powered, Jimmy King. The orange boat is Dave Villwock in the Elan Plus, and they go by Bertram. Hopefully he moved out and gave him room. I think he did because they got by him okay. This is going to be a drag race down to the finish here at the end of lap 3.
On the inside, Jimmy King, a very tight turn. You saw him stick in lane 1, and they've got Dave Villwock on his hip. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Dave Villwock puts the foot down across the finish line, checkered flag. You won the Miss Elstrom Elan Plus, and Dave Villwock second place, less than a rooster tail behind is Jimmy King in the Conover Insurance.
It was a drag race down to the finish line. The piston power not able to keep up with the turbine boat as Villwock put the hammer down on the outside and flew that orange boat to victory here in Heat 1A. It is way, way back to the third place boat, which is on the backstretch right now. Running in third place is Kevin Aylesworth, and he is 3/4 of a lap behind. We've had some attrition here that we should run down for you. The white boat, Chris Bertram, which was just lapped by the leaders, is running in 4th place, Mark, because he's still running, and we've lost a couple.
And we lost J. Michael Kelly in the U13, the Acura of Bellevue. The Lake Ridge paving went down dead in the water as well. But we're looking at Kevin Aylesworth coming off the final turn and heading down for a 3rd place finish in that beautiful gold and black U21 area code Cellular.
He goes by start-finish now, and he goes by a dead-in-the-water J. Michael Kelly, who has lost his cowling somewhere, which sometimes indicates that he got in a rooster tail as well. At any point, he did not finish the heat and will not score any points. Jimmy King will, the boat coming down the straightaway now. You're looking at your winner, which is Dave Villwock. We have to figure out what happened to the FormulaBoats.com. I think he's floating at the far right end of the backstretch. So he was not able to recover. Quite often when you're washed down like that, you're able to get the turbine re-spooled and get back up and running. But he was not able to, and that will hurt the weekend already for the young man who came in here as a rookie leading in national high points. You're looking at J. Michael Kelly right now.
And if we're able to look right behind the cockpit, part of his engine cowling is smashed down right in back of the cowling. It's a little hard to see at this angle, but when he was broadside to our position, position here. He's right in front of us. He took some water and it broke that cowling into several pieces, and now as the boat starts to spin just a little bit in the current, you can see the engine is uncovered, but there's a piece of yellow plastic right there. You can see it right there, sticking straight up from just above the air scoop, where the air scoop would have been.
We can tell you that's not the kind of stuff you can do by yourself. He had to have some help. He either got into a rooster tail, perhaps lost control a little bit, or somebody crossed over in front of him. If there were any calls made, we will be hearing about those. So there is a celebration already underway down in the pit area. Our guy Scott Reister is down there. And Scott, if you head for the winning team's end of the dock, we'll throw it down to you when you're ready.
Yeah.
We'll go to Scott whenever he lets us know he's ready. We're still looking at the U-13 Acura of Bellevue. Scott, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Here with Rick Swanson, crew member of the Dave Villawak-driven Miss Elam Plus. You had the fastest time in qualifying today, but are you surprised at all about how well it ran in this first heat?
Oh, not really. We set the boat up for the race conditions that we were going to have out here, and Dave just drove it, fantastic as normal. I mean, kept us out of trouble, and just put the boat in a position to win. So
now that you've got this first heat win, what is the plan for the rest of the heats? Do you still try to push it as hard as you can, or just give you some breathing room the rest of the way?
Well, I mean, we, obviously we're down on national points, and we need to win as much as we can and qualify as high as we can at the, Seattle and San Diego. So, we're going to be out, trying to get first place every time we put the boat on the water, because we got to have the points.
All right, Rick Swanson, crew member of the Dave Villawak-driven Miss Elam Plus. Now back to you guys.
Thank you, Scott. And if Dave gets back to the dock here in the next few seconds, you can grab him as well. He had to come from behind Mark Allen.
He sure did. We're looking right at him. Just the last 100 yards or so, Dave Villawak put the hammer down as they came off the final turn. Jimmy King didn't have quite the acceleration that Dave did right then, even though he was on the inside. He made a great turn. He was right next to that yellow buoy, but he couldn't hold Dave off in the last couple hundred yards to the finish line. So Dave Villawak, your winner, the Miss Alstrom Elam Plus. Second place goes to Conover Insurance.
Jimmy King led the first two laps.
Well, now we know what happened to Mike Allen, Steve Montgomery. He lost a prop.
So a repair there. And another one, by the way, we talked about the cowling on J. Michael Kelly's boat, the 13. That crew spent the night forming a new cowling out of fiberglass. So the first time we see it, it might not be complete with the right paint job, but hopefully that team will be back with us. So we had some racing yesterday, Christine and Scott, and I have to tell you, from an amateur weatherman's point of view, things are not looking bad up here. I think we'll have racing for you soon.
Tens of thousands line the river in 2004, already knowing the storyline. After 40 years of racing, it was one last chance to see the Miss Budweiser on the water. Dave Villawak and Miss Bud did not disappoint. After winning Heat 1A on Saturday, he came back to win 2A and 3A on Sunday. But Mitch Evans and Vacationville were also perfect, winning Heat 1B, 2B, and 3B.
We're looking forward for the final heat here at the end of the day. I think we'll have something for the other red boat down there.
The showdown turned out to be a runaway. Villawak was the first to the all-important turn one. He came out fine, but neither Evans nor J.W. Myers in the Lumar did. Lumar was done for the day with damage. Vacationville penalized a lap for contact.
Went in there, and all of a sudden, it seemed like out of nowhere, just kabam. But, with such limited visibility, I'm not going to point fingers at anybody.
I knew it was going to be tight, but I felt like we had enough room to all get through there. But J-Dub was really close to me and ended up just ricocheting off the sponson.
That left Miss Bud alone. Villawak would win his fourth race on the Columbia, Miss Bud's 12th, but the first since 1999.
I want to make Bernie proud, and this is a place that Bernie loved and a place that he felt was at home to him, and I thought if we could win another race this year, this would be a good one to do it.
I get put in an interesting position as I get to run every race this year like it was my last.
And Miss Bud went out in style. It was Villawak's last here on the red boat, but he'd be back again next year and holding a trophy again.
This Hydro Flashback is brought to you by HydroInsider.com. Chiefs RV brings you Inside Racing.
Long known as one of the nicest people in the sport, Steve David finally won his first championship in 2005, taking the ABRA Drivers' Championship in his 5th year as driver of the Oh Boy Oberto. David has 4 career wins to his credit, including the 2001 Madison Regatta, and the 2005 Evansville Freedom Festival.
We did have some racing yesterday, Mark.
We did, and before we get to that, I just, we ought to point out, too, that these officials are very good at rearranging the schedule. They can move things around, and things come out of the schedule that would block the way for some more hydro racing. So we have a long ways to go today, and let's go back to yesterday and take a look at Heat 1B.
We are 3 minutes away from Heat 1B of the Atomic Cup, and we've got 6 boats out on the course. So let's run through who will be in Heat 1B. Steve?
J.W. Myers gets a new ride. He's driving for the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas, and a former Miss Budweiser racing here as Solutions Plus, the U10.
The U100, Greg Hop.
Oh, dear.
We are 3 minutes away from Heat 1B of the Atomic Cup, and we've got 6 boats out on the course. So let's run through who will be in Heat 1B. Steve?
J.W. Myers gets a new ride. He's driving for the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas, and a former Miss Budweiser racing here as Solutions Plus, the U10.
The U100, Greg Hop, Todd Haas, American Dream. Greg has a long history of unlimited hydroplane racing, and along with his dad in Unlimited Lights and the new G-Boat class as well.
Team manager of the very hot new Formula Boats team is Mike Weber out of Dawsonville, Georgia, driving formulaboats.com, the U5, the all-red boat. It'll look like a Budweiser on camera.
U2.25, Dr. Ken Muscatel, the world's fastest forensic psychologist. His boat is sponsored by the Graham Trucking folks.
And you'll see the very familiar red, white, and green paint job aboard Madison, Indiana's Oh Boy Oberto, and the popular driver Steve David out of Lighthouse Point, Florida.
And our 6th boat on the race course will be Jean Thioret in the U37 Beacon Plumbing. Lots of yellow and lots of red on that boat as well, Steve. As the boats start to head down to this Blue Bridge end of the turn, we're still a minute and a half plus away from getting ready for this start. So they're down there starting to score up already.
We've seen some very interesting milling as Jean Thioret in one of the 2 yellow boats. His boat is a brighter yellow with a little bit of red on it. That's the Beacon Plumbing boat. The other one that is a darker yellow and all yellow is Solutions Plus. That's the boat out of Las Vegas, driven by J.W. Myers. But Thioret was all over the river. He made a big wide sweep and came way outside of the outer marker, then drove across the bow of a couple of boats to get back to the inside. So we had some interesting scoring up going on. Now, the 1 minute mark is approaching, and we're way out of shape, Mark. We got some boats that need to get lined up here on the backstretch.
We're looking at J.W. Myers. You saw him just cut through the infield, and now he's streaking down the front straightaway, looking at some of the boats going very slow on the backstretch. Jean Thioret, he's followed by the U100. We're now looking at Mike Weber in the U5 formulaboats.com as he pulls up as well, and he's going to be pulling up on side the Oh Boy Oberto. You'll see him in the picture in just a second. And here comes J.W. Myers. He's made his way all the way around. We'll see who gets that inside lane. It's going to be a little bit crowded right now as they come to the entrance pin of that top turn.
Right now, Greg Hop has his blue boat in lane 1 if nobody gets inside him. Thioret wanted lane 1 so badly he was way up, way early, had to slow down, and may have been crowded out of there. It appears that Hop is going to have control now in the U100 in lane 1. You see Mike Weber swinging wide in that bright red Formula Boats and the rest of the field in between. It's going to be a beautiful sight now as 5 boats are lined up side by side. Thioret is charging in the middle as we count it down. 2, 1, 0. A legal start. Greg Hop, the leader at the start of Heat 1B.
Greg Hop first across the line. Jean Thioret is second across the line as the boats head down into that Blue Bridge turn. And J.W. Myers got caught, and he is way way back in the field, but it's John Theoret as they hit that first turn, Steve, and on the inside is Greg Hopp. John Theoret looks like he's got the lead as they come off the turn.
Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing just drives around the blue boat. That's a great riding again, a former Miss Budweiser. It was changed a couple of years ago to its current configuration. We got a great race back in second place between Hopp on the inside in the blue boat and Steve David, who has the Oh Boy Oberto running beautifully. It's actually David right now in second place, but they're going to be neck and neck as they chase Theoret.
1, 2, and 3, and they're all into the turn at this point. Theoret with a full rooster tail lead. We watch him come through the turn very close behind him. Now on the outside of him is the Oh Boy Oberto, and on the inside of his rooster tail is Greg Hopp. Oberto gets a great turn, and on the outside of them as they come by is Mike Weber in the FormulaBoats.com, and he has taken over third place as they come to the end of lap number 1.
We could not see Mike Weber in the red boat on the backstretch. He was behind the rooster tails. He was actually right up in that fray, but look at Theoret, that yellow boat that won the Gold Cup very recently for new owner Billy Shoemaker, is a yellow rocket on the straightaways, and he is leaving them behind. John Theoret, the French-Canadian Rookie of the Year last year in 2005, is our leader here in Heat 1B. Steve David now has settled into second place in the Oh Boy Oberto, and Mark, that's as good as that old boat's looked for a long time.
That is an old boat. 1988 it was built, but it is running hot, and John Theoret walking the boat back sponson to sponson, and now we'll go back to second place. That's the Oh Boy Oberto. Third place is the FormulaBoats.com, and we'll look at Greg Hopp coming through in fourth place, but John Theoret at the top of the turn on the west end of the race course has this race well in hand, and Steve David now in second place, but here comes John Theoret down the front straightaway, Steve, to end lap number 2.
End of lap 2 for Theoret. He gets the white flag, 1 lap to go, and he has about a 3 rooster tail lead over Steve David in that red, white, and green Oh Boy Oberto, and then it's back about 1.5 rooster tails to Mike Weber in the FormulaBoats.com. Greg Hopp has settled into fourth place in the blue boat, but he is on the inside, and he may be able to reel in the red boat running way out in lane 4.
Theoret's got that boat up a little bit as he goes through the rough water in that Blue Bridge turn. You saw the sponsons come up just a little bit, but safely off the turn, and now streaking up the backstretch on his third of 3 times around here in Heat 1B. John Theoret leading the field now by several rooster tails. The race well in hand for him.
You're looking at a race boat doing almost 200 miles per hour up the Pasco side. This boat lost its cowling and wing in the final heat of the Gold Cup. At that point, the ride generally goes away. Theoret just put the hammer down, drove it like the Grand Prix boats that he grew up in, and won the Gold Cup impressively in part of a race boat. And now, Mark, here he comes to take the checkered flag. John Theoret will win Heat 1B at the Atomic Cup.
There he goes across the start-finish line. John Theoret, the U-37 Beacon Plumbing, the winner of Heat 1B. Right behind him is Steve David in the Oh Boy Oberto, second place for Heat 1B. Now it's going to be a ways back, and we've got quite a race. Greg Hopp on the inside. Mike Weber pulls him off the corner, but they're almost dead even. It will be Mike Weber by about 2 boat lengths as they cross the finish line. Mike Weber in third, Greg Hopp in fourth, and there comes J.W. Myers in fifth place across the line.
So that's the way they will finish. Score 400 points for Jean Theoret, the very, very lead-footed French-Canadian driving for new owner Billy Shoemaker. There's a name that you Veteran Hydro fans will know well. The boat is now the U-37. It used to be Bill Worster's Lumar window film. It's now the Beacon Plumbing, winner of the Gold Cup and winner of Heat 1B here. So give them 400 points, and we'll run the scoring down for you after we go down to the pit area, and Scott Reister to get a word with that crew and driver.
All right, here was John Theoret. Just took Heat 1B. I know you had a lot of damage in Detroit winning that Gold Cup, but I guess things worked themselves out today, huh?
Yeah, the team worked real hard, all week before this event here, and thank God we won this race again, and the Beacon Plumbing boats are going good. The water was pretty rough, especially in the first corner, but we got a good start, and that was it right there.
A lot of boats here. I know there were 7 in the first heat, 6 in this heat. What did you think of the competition and kind of being out there on a crowded race course?
Well, it's exciting, it gives you a prelude to the final, because the final is going to be a 6-boat final. So it's always good to have all these boats there and put on a good show for the fans.
Is this shaping up to be a Dave Villwock, Jean Theoret showdown, or is it too early to say that?
I think it's too early. There's plenty of good boats out there, and I'd say there's at least 4 or 5 good boats that can win this race here, so we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Jean Theoret just took Heat 1B. We'll see what he does the rest of the way. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Scott. A great start to the weekend, the Atomic Cup. And Steve, let's run down the finish order.
Theoret picks up 400 points for that first place win. A great start for his weekend. And Steve David, the Oh Boy Oberto, an impressive second place and 300 points. Third place went to Mike Weber in the FormulaBoats.com, 225 points. Then it's 169 for Greg Hopp in fourth place. Had the inside and the lead at the start, but just couldn't hang on to it. J.W. Myers in the Solutions Plus, we'll see more out of that yellow boat. Picked up 127 points. points in the Doctor. Ken Muscatel, 95 points, running 6th in Heat 1B. And that's the way they finished here in Heat 1B of the Atomic Cup.
Well, we did find out later that John Theoret had a fuel violation. Not just a violation, Steve, but a flagrant fuel violation. So the points that he thought he got for 400 first-place points, he didn't get. He didn't get any points, and Steve David was the winner of that heat.
So the points you see on your screen, those of you who did as I suggested yesterday and kept score at home, if you gave Jean Theoret 400, take him away. Give him to Steve David, the old boy Oberto, and he is with our Scott Reister right down in the pit area. Scott?
Well, actually, you can see the crew hurry up and waiting. A whole lot of nothing left to do because Steve David and his team is just ready to go. I hear the latest is a tentative 12:30 with the underline being under 12:30, the air show coming up. What is the latest with you guys? Is it really this calm, cool, and collected right now?
Oh, it is. The Oberto's ready. The guys did everything to the Oberto last night to get it ready, so it's ready to go. And what you see is a high level of intelligence taking place, but not physically. This is happening internally, and this is what gives me my confidence to drive the Oberto to another win.
We're here right outside your truck. We're in our little tent where you guys can just kind of camp out and get ready. Do you mind this little break? Does it maybe help you get collected, or are you too eager to get out there and get started?
It helps get the butterflies flying in formation. Yeah. But we're ready to go. The crew's ready to go. We want to get out there and put on a show for the fans, but the conditions have to be safe to do that as well.
Now, you're in first place by default, but you got to like how the boats are running, especially after heat. I didn't mean to insult you.
I'm taking them out.
The two sweetest words in the English language, default. You don't mind it, do you?
No, I mean, hey, they're great racers, and 37 had a minor infraction and it cost them. Every one of us get caught every once in a while doing that, and they're great racers. We look forward to going out there and racing with them again today.
You've been racing for a while. Does this kind of delay drag itself out? Or are you worried that it might kind of push further and further into the day?
Whenever it happens, we're ready to go.
All right, sounds like he is. It'll be a quick driver meeting. He'll be back there. Yeah, we're here with driver Dr. Ken Muscatel as the air show goes above us, making hearing kind of loud, but you guys obviously heard what the deal was inside the driver meeting we just got out of. What will transpire to try to get some racing done on the course today?
Well, I volunteered to go out and run the Graham trucking and see if it's runnable. If I need a heavy cruiser, then you know it's not raceable. It's going to be...
One moment. So you're going to volunteer. And then what happens?
And then if I come back, I count my body parts. If they're all there, maybe we'll race. But it's when we were out there, I ran this morning. It was raceable. When we went out on the boat parade, it was unbelievable. Worst I'd ever seen it by far. Completely unraceable. No one would be able to finish a heat. So if it's manageable, I'll go. Now that's one boat going. You're going to have 7 boats in a heat out there. The water will get fantastically rough no matter what. But if it's not raceable with 1, it's not raceable with 7.
All right, so you're going to take this experimental trip at 1 o'clock, is that right? And then make a call after that?
Yes, I call it an experimental terror.
Got it. Well, he is a doctor, so if you have to find your body parts, and you'll be okay, right?
I know. I'm taking inventory now.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, that is the story. We'll try to see if this race is raceable. And right now, we're going back to Marcus Seed.
So we'll send the psychoanalyst out to psychoanalyze our race course, and maybe he can have a little talk with the west turn up here, Mark, and get things settled down.
See if the wind wants to change.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
It takes the wind wanting to change in order to get something done. But Dr. Ken Muscatel has a lot of experience. He's many years on limited hydroplane and then in the smaller boats as well. If anybody can tell what the conditions are and whether they're raceable, he certainly can.
So what you're going to see here, and 12:30 we understand is the time that'll happen, or when this jet exhibition is finished. They want to get him out of the corridor before they send a boat out. You'll see Ken's boat. It's the orange and white U2.25 Graham Trucking. It's a boat that raced here last year under owner Jim Harvey. Ken then, of course, sold his equipment to the group out of San Diego, driven now by Kevin Aylesworth, leased Jim Harvey's boat, so he now has the orange and white U2.25. And Mark, we might point out, this boat is not famous for being the most stable on the race course. I only mention that because if Ken can handle the water in that boat, then things are looking pretty good.
That's right. So we're maybe waiting to see at least one hydroplane. You know, we keep thinking, hey, it's the wind's died down, everything is looking good, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get another gust of wind. So
the 2.25 will be coming out of the pits, Scott, and you'll be able to see it down where Scott and Christine are as well. One boat. Hey, the way things have gone today, that might be a highlight so far, but we will have one boat on the water, hopefully at about 12:30, 6 or 7 minutes from now. We'll have that and much more for you from the Atomic Cup when we come back, so stay with us.
Cattell is on the river, and he's riding the river pretty good right now. Just came off of that west end turn down the front straightaways. We can see him on camera now just across the start-finish line. Boat looks pretty smooth right now, Steve.
We absolutely saw nothing wrong with that run, but we're not in the race boat trying to go 200 miles per hour. Again, the conditions don't look the same to the drivers as they do to those of us here on the safety of the shore. But the doctor did take the 2.25 gram trucking up the backstretch. It looked very normal from where we saw it, and we really aren't going to know how he feels about this run until he gets back and reports. But right here, Mark, he's looking very much like he would in ideal conditions. He's running into the wind, into the current, and this is what the drivers have been talking about.
That's right. It looks pretty smooth at this point, although he's not going full out at this point either. That's not his top speed, but the boat is just reacting with the water.
Now, right here's a critical point, because as he turns the boat to the right, the wind quarters across the right sponson, creating an actual lift problem on some boats. This one was designed particularly to avoid that problem. We've seen many, many boats go over up at the west end of this race course when the breeze picked up a little bit. This one probably handles that particular problem better than most. But the doctor appears to be doing just fine. I can't imagine that he'd go back to the pits after this run and say that it's treacherous out there.
Well, you know, it looks like he is going back to the pits right now, so he has done about almost 2 full laps as he came out of the pits. We'll get the word as we can when he gets back into the pit area, gets off the dock, and meets with the ABRA officials. You can see him coasting into the dock area right now.
He ran a lap at 144.624 miles per hour, which is race conditions, certainly. If he did that out here with 5 other boats, he might be taking the checkered flag. In fact, let's score Ken Muscatel as the winner of that heat. And
move on.
Exactly. And Scott Reister, down in the pit area, you'll be talking to a driver who didn't win a heat, but he survived the conditions, and that might be a pretty good story. Hopefully, things went well enough that the doctor will go back and tell his fellow drivers, I think we can do it. Maybe we need to be a little careful, but let's go out on the water and put on a show for the folks here.
We've certainly seen them race in conditions on this river, Steve, that have...
Okay. Let's go down to Scott. He might have some news for us already. Scott?
Well, guys, as you can see, Ken Muscatel pulling in after that practice lap. I heard that he hit about 144.
I'm right here. I'll let you know in a minute, Sam.
About 144 on the practice laps, and I also heard from one race official that they have given this race a green light to go based on what they saw out of the 2.25 gram trucking. Ken Muscatel agreed to volunteer to race this course to prove that it was okay to race, and guess what? The officials deemed that we can race. So it looks like the Atomic Cup will begin shortly as soon as they reorganize the schedule and get things going. But here we see Ken Muscatel getting out of the boat, and thanks to, I could say, his courage, he decided to get out there, and now he's saying it's okay, and based on his speeds and everything else, it looks like this act has saved the day.
Yeah, good to go.
Anything wrong with it? Is it bad? Choppy? How you thought it?
It's wet. It's rough on the back stretch. It's fine. Let's go racing.
Is it rougher than less rough than you thought? Or you were pretty concerned about it when you
better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
You feel like you can get 6-7 boats out of here and be safe?
Yeah, barely, but yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck to you. That's the story from down here. Dr. Ken Muscatel able to race, and the officials able to give it an okay. So very shortly we'll start this Atomic Cup. Guys, back to you.
We are told by the officials that we're going to shoot for a 5-minute gun at 12:50. Ken Muscatel, by the way, is in Heat 2A, Mark, so he's going to make a fairly quick turnaround. If this works, then we'll get. In fact, they're going to leave it up to Ken. If the 2.25 is ready, and we do have to let them get back on the trailer, refuel, and go back in the water, we will shoot the 5-minute gun at 12:50. So, unless things get worse, we got boat racing for you coming up here soon on the Columbia River.
David Williams, Executive Director of the Hydroplane Raceboat Museum. The Hydroplane Museum is a non-profit 501c3 tax-exempt corporation, very much like the Art Museum or the Symphony or the Zoo or any other heritage organization. The oldest boat that we have in our collection is this boat right here, the Tempo 6, built in 1938. It won the Gold Cup in 1939, 1941, and 1946. And the story of how the three-point hydro was invented is really pretty interesting. In the 1930s, there was a war going on in China, a war between the Japanese and the Chinese. And the Japanese were blockading the Chinese ports. And the Chinese government wanted a boat to help them break the blockade. The Chinese ordered 11 boats, but they only paid for 10. So 10 boats got shipped and 1 got left here in the States. And Ventnor, didn't want to lose money on that 11th boat, so he eventually sold it to a boat racer who took it to the Gold Cup race and found out that it was significantly faster than all the other boats at the time. The next evolution was the 3-point prop rider, and the Slow Motion 4 followed by the Slow Motion 5 were the first two really successful prop riding hydroplanes. If you were able to kind of peek inside the Slow-Mo, it's built a lot more like an airplane than a boat. If you look inside the Tempo, it's definitely a boat. But if you look inside the Slow-Mo, it borrows an awful lot from airplanes. Slow-Mos won the Gold Cup in 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54. 5 years in a row. And at that time, the winner of the race got to determine where the race was held. So when the Slow-Mo won the race in Detroit in 1950, they brought it out to the West Coast, and we've had hydroplane racing here ever since. When you look at this boat, you can't help but notice the big, beautiful engine there in the engine well. That's a Rolls-Royce Merlin. What really caused the sport to take off in the 50s like it hadn't ever before was the virtually unlimited supply of very cheap and very powerful military surplus engines. The next big step in the evolution of hydroplane racing didn't have a lot to do with the boats themselves, but it had to do with how they got paid for. The boats we've looked at earlier, the Tempo and the Slow-Mo, those were sportsman boats. The Miss Bardol here, the 1958 national champion, is a commercially sponsored boat. And that was a big revolution that took place in the middle half of the 50s. The sport became so popular, the crowds that the sport drew were so huge, that businessmen began to realize, hey, if I put my name on the side of a hydroplane, a lot of people are going to see it, and maybe some of them will buy my product. Another one of the things that really surprises people when they look at our older boats here is that we don't have any seat belts. We don't have the air masks or the canopies that drivers today have. If you look in there, there's just a whole lot of padding and a steering wheel. And that's the only way you stayed in the boat, was holding onto that steering wheel with all your might. This changed in the 1980s when we moved to a honeycomb construction. The boat we're standing in front of now is the 1980 Griffin Budweiser. It's a significant boat for a number of reasons. It was the last hurrah of the piston engine boat. In fact, it won the national championship in 1985, and that was the last time a piston boat ever won the championship. Ron Jones had been talking for years about wanting to build a safety canopy. After looking at the boat at the end of the 82 Columbia Cup, Chip Hanauer and Jim Lucero did something about it. The next year in 83, they took the canopy, or they took the cockpit, lowered it, reinforced it, and strapped Chip in. And Chip was the first one to drive strapped into a hydroplane. After a couple years of doing that, they decided to put a lid over him and give him an oxygen mask. This boat, actually the two boats, the Budweiser here that had the horrible accident with Dean Chenoweth, and the Atlas here, that was the first boat to have a driver strapped in, really changed the course of modern hydroplane racing.
Actually, the race should start in about 10 minutes or so. The boats are being lifted from the cranes out onto the water as the drivers are finally breathing a sigh of relief. This race will happen. Great news also for Mike Allen, the current points leader. His boat is fixed and ready to go. They're going to hopefully see if it holds up here in Heat 2A, first heat of the day.
Lost control and came extremely close to the crowd. Patrolmen say those are times you need them out there the most.
Unlimited got within 2 boat lengths of our patrol boat, and so kind of a buffer zone between them and the public on the shore.
And patrolmen say this year's fans have been very cooperable. At the Atomic Cup, I'm Brian Carlson.
We are getting ready for Heat 2B finally on a Sunday afternoon here at the Atomic Cup Heat 2B. And let's take a look at the boats that will be in Heat 2B, Steve.
Starting with the U1, the Elstrom family's Miss Elam Plus, Dave Vilwalk, the winningest driver in the pit area, certainly one of the winningest in the history of the sport, hoping to add another notch here today.
The U225, Dr. Ken Muscatel, we saw him out here testing the waters literally just a few minutes ago, and he said, let's go racing.
And talk about a young man leading a charmed life. Mike Allen came into this weekend leading in national high points. The rookie out of New Orleans, Louisiana, spent 11 days away from home after the hurricane. Would not have been racing today possibly if the wind hadn't come up, giving him an extra 2 hours for the glue to dry, but he will be in this heat.
A brand new driver on the Unlimited circuit, Chris Bertram, not at all unfamiliar with hydroplanes. He's the current division champ in national mods. He's in the U9, and that is Jackson Sports Bar.
And here is J.W. Myers, one of the great young hot shoes, they call him in this sport, driving for the Gregory family out of Las Vegas, Nevada, the USA Racing Team, and that's the U10.
U37, Jean Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing. He needs some points right here, right now, right quick, because he lost all of his points because of a fuel violation yesterday.
And finally, the U99, Miss Lake Ridge Paving. Some of your programs might say plumbing. The Lake Ridge people do paving over in Seattle. Jeff is an outstanding young driver. Jeff Bernard in the U99 had his first appearance last year at Seafair. I believe this is his second event in an Unlimited.
And we're watching Jeff Bernard go down toward the Blue Bridge turn in the U99 Lake Ridge Paving right now as the boats get scored up still all over the race course at this point, Steve, and we're just above 3 minutes to go. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, all you have to do is watch that clock as it ticks down, and we'll bring them down to the start-finish line, and you can tell whether they're jumping the gun or not. That's why that clock is up there. It's for everybody to be able to keep track of where they are on that start.
All 6 boats up and running. You are looking at Dave Villwalk in that International Orange Rescue Orange Elam Plus. Villwalk traditionally, when he drove particularly for Bernie Little, battled his way to the inside. We're finding that now that he has a little more leeway and nobody barking at him, why didn't you get the inside? He's actually moved out a couple of times and has had some success this year coming from lane 3 and 4. We'll see where he wants to go here.
There's J.W. Myers in the U10 Solutions Plus, and that boat has been completely rebuilt. It's one of the former Budweisers. We have 4 former Budweiser Unlimited hydroplanes here, and that is the T3 or Turbine 3 out of the Budweiser stable from a number of years ago. They took it down to Las Vegas and basically rebuilt it, got it set to go.
And there is John Theoret, the French-Canadian, who has been a sensation since joining the Unlimited circuit last year, the 2005 Rookie of the Year, the 2006 Gold Cup winner. Last week in Detroit, he lost a good part of the boat. The cowling and the wing were gone. Usually that takes away the handling. Didn't bother him. The boat was very, very fast, and John just put the pedal down and ran away from the field. An impressive drive. Oh, we got some action here right in front of us. A very, very near miss. Oh, my goodness. We just about saw one of the worst collisions that I have seen in my many, many years of watching this sport. Mike Allen in the FormulaBoats.com was coming through the infield toward us, and as he got right in front of us, he turned left right in front of the rookie, who had a very scary moment driving the U9 Jackson Sports Bar. I thought, Mark, they were going to go right over each other.
But a very, very nice job of avoiding that collision by Chris Bertram. Rookie, you wouldn't think he'd have the sense of mind to do that. He had to come outside the course to do it, but that is going to result in a penalty, I would bet, to the U5.
Actually, to the 7.
Sorry, 7.
Mike Allen is going to get a 1-lap penalty for that maneuver right there, and hats off to Chris Bertram for avoiding disaster. I believe we just about have that on camera, and maybe we can look at it again after we get done racing here, but a very, very scary moment here right in front of us. Now the boats are scoring up on the backstretch, and it looks like JW might have the inside in the dark yellow boat. It takes a little bit of time here before we are sure that no one's going to take away a lane. Muscatel had the inside. I believe JW now has moved up and taken it away from him. Mike Allen is behind the field a bit. Dave Villwalk is out in lane 3 or 4. The 7 has been disqualified. Mike Allen can go back to the pits. He will not be allowed to race here. Now they're coming toward us. Swinging wide is the Lake Ridge Paving. Way on the outside, Jeff Bernard. He's going to be out in lane 6. A little bit of traffic there in the middle of the field. The leader is Ken Muscatel, but he has to slow down a little bit at the 5-second mark. Watch your screen now. 3, 2, 1. Bernard was right on the line, if indeed he wasn't too early.
And way on the outside, Jeff Bernard leads him down into the Blue Bridge turn, and you'll see Chris Bertram come through the picture here in just a few minutes. But we will have the start under review. Chris Bertram is where he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be on the outside and in the back. But Dave Villwalk is going to exit the Blue Bridge turn in first place. Ken Muscatel is coming. Well, he's losing ground now, and Theoret and J.W. Myers taking him right out after Dave Villwalk.
What a beautiful turn as those 4 came sweeping through. It was Villwock going around the field on the outside. Then J.W. Myers stuck his yellow nose out on the inside. Jean Theoret between boats, and those four, along with Dr. Muscatel.
They're real bouncing in.
Oh, there goes Villwock. We have an accident. We have a crash on the backstretch. The Elam Plus has gone over at the left end of the backstretch. The red flares will fire. We will stop the race. The rescue team will be on their way now to Dave Villwock and the stricken Elam Plus.
He is right there at the entrance buoy. That's where the boat landed. Hatch is up on the Elam Plus.
It is right side up.
And the boat is right side up, and you can see that Dave Villwock has popped the hatch on the Elam Plus.
Now this is going to be an issue because that is right where the officials were worried about the conditions. He was running into the wind, up the backstretch, caught a gust, and got high in the air.
Dave is out of the boat. He's walking back. He's looking back at the wing on the back of the boat is broken. Looks like it may even be gone, but Dave is walking back up toward the cockpit now. The boat bounced a couple of times, Steve, and you can see the skid fin was completely out of the water. It bounced again, and Dave just didn't have enough of that canard to press down on to get the boat back down on the water.
We'll be able to replay this for you in just a moment here as soon as we get it rewound. Here we go. Watch Dave Villwock now on the straightaway looking okay. Left sponson comes up just a little bit. There's a bounce. You want it to come back down. It does, but it bounces again, and this time it's too high. It's up and over, a complete 360 and then some, landing right on the transom, almost hit by one of the yellow boats going by. Fortunately, the boat bounced back right side up. Dave Villwock is okay walking around on the boat. Not the way, Mark, we wanted to start the day.
Nope, not at all. And Dave is directing traffic out there as the rescue boats hook up to the Miss Elam Plus. We're trying to get, if we can get maybe a little tighter shot of that. Want to look at the front canard on the boat as well. It looks like there may be some damage right in that
I think Dave, when you saw him walking around the boat originally, was actually doing a little inspection. He's well enough that he's concerned about the boat and wondering if perhaps it could race again today. Normally, that kind of an accident takes a boat out of action for some period of time, but we have seen examples of a boat going through contortions like that and being fixable. Dave might have been doing a little assessment of the damage to his race boat. Doesn't look good from the picture we're seeing at all.
Now, great camera work, guys, catching that. Absolutely terrific, and maybe we can roll that back again and take another look at it.
We see the front of the boat. That's probably the front canard or front wing that is broken on the part facing you. Boy, we've had more action than we wanted. We had a very near disaster here right in front of us before the start of the race, resulting in disqualification of Mike Allen in the U7 when he very nearly collided with Chris Bertram in the Jackson Sports Bar. I thought I was watching a disaster right in front of me here. It took me back to years ago, Mark, when I was the PA announcer 15 years before you were, and we sat right here and watched the pay and pack go over right in front of us. So good seat for a lot of action right here at start-finish.
Well, Chris Bertram managed to avoid Mike Allen in the FormulaBoats.com 2 and two buoys that are the start-finish line buoys on the outside course markers, and you can now see the rescue sleds hooking up to the Elstrom Miss Elam Plus to bring that boat into the pit area. The rest of the boats have begun to work their way back to the pit area as well.
Now the question is going to be, did the conditions have something to do with that incident? And I'm sure there will be a big discussion about this in the pit area. We talked before the race about the fact that the wind was coming down the river. The current comes down the river. They were heading right into the part of the race course where it is the roughest. And that's exactly where Dave Villwock got in trouble and went over in the Elam Plus. We can only hope that the conditions are good enough for us to continue racing this afternoon. But what we've just seen is probably not bode well for the way the officials are going to look at this thing.
A couple of the boats that are right in front of us, Chris Bertram had the boat up and running, heading back to the pits. He bounced it a little hard over the wake that was left by J.W. Myers as he's heading back in the Miss Solutions Plus and put the fire out. Bertram now has the boat back under power as well, and might have an opportunity when he gets back to the pits
for Scott Royster to talk with Chris Bertram about that near collision that they had. So,
Scott, also in the pit area, Scott, the members of the Elam crew by now will have spoken to Dave, and they probably can tell you a little bit about what happened. So if you head down that way and let us know when you get there, we can come down to you for any information that the Elam crew might have. Some of them are up here, actually.
Take another look at the flip Dave Villawalk coming up the backstretch just to the very left of your picture. And you'll see him bounce once, comes back down, bounces again, launches off a roller, it looks like, and he went almost completely over twice.
I was very concerned while he was in the air about the fact that one of the yellow boats
Just another look, Steve.
Right under him, and Dave Villawalk almost landed right on J.W. Myers, or it may have been the Theorette's boat, but you'll see a yellow boat go very nearly right under Dave while he's in the air. Right here. Now remember, he can control the attitude of the boat with that front canard a little bit. Right here, he realizes he's getting high.
Bounced again, and then up and go.
Foot pedal down, not enough wing to control the boat. He's in the air. Now watch the yellow boat come here, almost go right under him, and that could have been another near disaster. So we've dodged a couple of bullets here so far this morning. I guess it's afternoon by now with the delays we've had.
It is, and that will put us back in another delay at this point because we have not yet gotten Heat 2A even underway after a full lap.
You got any plans for Monday?
We may be right here, and if the race is run, we will be right here. That's where we're going.
And once again, we want to go down to the pit area and you, Scott, whenever you have any news from anyone down there. We know that the driver is okay. He's helping with the rescue of the boat, but they will go check him out in the medical trailer. Sometimes the adrenaline gets flown and you're not in quite as good a shape as you think. It simply looked like one of those situations. Dave runs the boat very loose anyway, and he controls the attitude of the boat with that front canard, and I'm sure the first couple of bounces we saw were him bringing the boat back down with that front.
Back on the Columbia River, the Atomic Cup 2006. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. We got a little bit of racing in, but now we're going to go racing, Steve, in Heat 2B.
Well, on your television screen here in the Northwest and your computer screen across the country and around the world, you see the countdown to the running of Heat 2B. Just hope that keeps counting and that we don't have a delay somewhere in the next 5 minutes. Normally, the drivers like to be in their boats headed out onto the race course at about the 5-minute mark. And once we see them headed out, Mark, I think we can presume that we are going to, well, there we go. Steve David in the Oh Boy Oberto is going to make an appearance here, and he will be the first boat to come on out of a 6-boat field, a very, very high-quality 6-boat field. This should be a very good heat of racing. We can only hope we keep them all on the water, and it'll be the first time we've crowned a winner all day.
Water and wind conditions look better than they have all day, so it looks like we have a chance to get a heat of racing in here, and hopefully the wind will stay away, and we'll get some boat racing. I tell you what, let's run down the field for Heat 2B.
Jimmy King driving the very popular piston-powered U3, sponsored here by Conover Insurance, always a crowd favorite with the big loud motor.
Mike Weber in the U5, that's the FormulaBoats.com, one of the former Budweiser racing pieces of equipment.
And Stephen David, you saw him pull out of the pit area, the bright red, white, and green colors of the Italian flag and the Oberto family from Seattle. Steve David, driver of the U6, the Oh Boy Oberto.
The U13, J. Michael Kelly and the Acura of Bellevue, presented by the Spirit of Detroit. J. Michael, substitute driver for Terry Troxel, as Terry is still recovering and not medically cleared yet to drive, but he'll be back in the boat soon.
Kevin Aylesworth, a rookie in his first year at an Unlimited. A lot of time spent in the Unlimited Lights where he had a lot of success. The driver out of San Diego in the U21, the area code Cellular.
And boat number 6 for Heat 2B is the U100, Todd Haas American Dream. Greg Hopp, the driver out of Snohomish, Washington. Greg doing double duty this weekend, driving that Mike's Hard Lemonade Unlimited Light as well. So those are the 6 boats we'll have on the race course. We count up rooster tails pretty quickly here. I see 5 of them at least, Steve.
You're looking at Mike Weber making a run down the front chute in the FormulaBoats.com. You'll see Steve David come into your picture, running just to his right there in the Oh Boy Oberto. 4 boats now on the front straightaway as Greg Hopp, who was anxious to get out there and do some kicking, has his boat that looks predominantly blue on your picture, the U100, and this yellow and green boat being driven by J. Michael Kelly. we don't know a lot about yet. It's a brand new rebuild. It's first weekend of racing, but there have been some indications, Mark, that boat is very fast. And this is a good young driver, so keep your eye on the boat with the yellow nose there.
Yeah, completely rebuilt over the winter. In fact, this is a boat that has been around for a long time, but they are completely rebuilt. It's essentially a brand new boat. As they rebuilt the boat over the years, it added weight. When they rebuilt it over the winter, they took a lot of that weight out, found out when they got to Detroit that boat was a little bit light. They weren't able to race. Steve David, we're watching with 2 minutes and 42 seconds left on our countdown clock. He's coming up the backstretch. There's J. Michael Kelly.
And he'll have to make a good start, but in his one try earlier yesterday, he made a great start in the middle of the field. He was actually leading the field right on time, then got into a rooster tail, knocked some parts off of that boat, but it's been rebuilt. Now coming down the front straight right in front of us, you saw the blue boat go by. That's Greg Hopp in the U100. The Todd Haas, a Seattle businessman doing some sponsoring here, calls the boat the Todd Haas American Dream. Greg now will slow down, take a look at his clock, see where he wants to be on the race course at the 2-minute mark. Mike Weber turning into the infield. Two boats now on the front straightaway. You're looking at Greg Hopp, who is going clear down by the Blue Bridge. The other drivers opting for a shorter course at this time and pulling across the infield.
There's J. Michael Kelly, rather. The Acura of Bellevue, the U13. He's heading all the way down.
At the 140 mark, Hopp apparently has decided enough looping. He's going to park that boat in lane 1, clear down at the Blue Bridge, and attempt to scrape off a minute and a half on the back straightaway before he comes around to start finish. It can be done, but he's going to have to run very slowly. He has to stay up on a plane or he will be penalized by the officials. They don't want you putting the boat down in the water and creating a big wake. Now, will Hopp be able to secure and keep lane 1? He has J. Michael Kelly right behind him, presumably in lane 2, and then Jimmy King appears to be out in lane 3 in the red boat, the U3. That's the way the first 3 appear to be setting up. There are 3 more boats way back behind them just coming through the turn who are going to have better boat speed, but when they catch up with these 3, Mark, the best 3 lanes may be already taken.
Yep, it looks like J. Michael Kelly is just shadowing Greg Hopp and now moves into lane number 2 on the backstretch. Hopp is in lane number 1, Kelly in 2, and Jimmy King will be in 3 as we watch the rest of the boats.
They're okay time-wise. At the 40-second mark, they can crawl around and scrape off this much speed. Now, they're going to be joined very shortly in your picture by 3 more boats who are coming up behind them, but they're going to have to look for racing lanes, and they're probably going to be in lanes 4, 5, and 6, unless some of the first 3 move over and leave some room, which is generally not what drivers do. Now, Greg Hopp in control in lane 1. Right next to him is J. Michael Kelly in that very quick yellow and green boat, and this is going to be a great start. Steve David getting a little close to Mike Weber as they swing out there. The 2 inside boats side by side. Are they on time? Watch your clock. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and a 0 is in time. Kevin Aylesworth actually led him across the line way on the outside, but the speed is over to the left. Watch the 2 boats in lanes 1 and 2.
Greg Hopp and Jimmy King, and you'll have J. Michael Kelly stuck in the middle. He's the sandwich as those boats head down to the first turn. Looks like Greg Hopp got left behind, Steve, and J. Michael Kelly has about a half a turn lead on him as they come.
Oh, he got high. J. Michael took a big bounce, and that allowed the U3, Jimmy King, to go by him. But now Kelly puts his foot down again. This kid is fearless. He looks like a high school point guard. He acts like a big-time boat racer. Look at this speed up the backstretch. The U3 in control, but J. Michael Kelly is not going to let him go. Watch it right here. This is where Vilwalk got into trouble. Keep it on the water, guys, and give us a good turn. Look at the brand-new yellow and green boat handling beautifully for the youngster from Seattle, J. Michael Kelly.
I think you'll see a 3rd boat come out of that turn as well. There are 3 boats, Greg Hopp and also Steve David and the Oboy Alberto coming down to the end of lap 1. Jimmy King on the outside. He's got about a 3-boat length lead. End of lap 1 is Jimmy King, then J. Michael Kelly. The Oboy Alberto comes across 3rd, and it'll be Greg Hopp in 4th and Kevin Aylesworth 5th as they finish lap number 1.
Into the first turn again, and your leader out in lane 2 is the red boat, the U3, Jimmy King, the driver, with piston power. J. Michael Kelly now on the inside has to hope that Jimmy leaves him some room. He's back far enough. He could swallow some rooster tail. The U3 now with a little bit of an advantage as they head up the backstretch for the second second time and into that wind. Keep an eye on these boats as they approach 200 miles per hour.
Jimmy King flying the boat down the backstretch. A dead heat when we look back at second and third now. Steve David in the Oboy Oberto has passed J. Michael Kelly in the Acura of Bellevue, and he is now in second place as they come to the top turn entrance buoy, lap number 2.
The advantage that Steve David has out there is better water. J. Michael Kelly is pinned inside the wake of the piston boat that's leading this heat. On the other hand, Steve David can kind of go where he wants and find some good weather. So now our leader coming down to finish the lap is the U3, Jimmy King, in the Conover Insurance boat. Steve David comes by in second place in the Oboy Oberto. Then J. Michael Kelly in the Acura of Bellevue, and Greg Hopp running back here in fourth place in the U100.
And he's starting to reel in just a little bit, J. Michael Kelly, but now the boats are pretty well strung out, as you see, going through the turn. Jimmy King with a big lead, a full rooster tail lead over Stephen David in the Oboy Oberto. Then it's back to third place, J. Michael Kelly. And on the inside, Greg Hopp has now moved to the inside, and he's going to try to track down J. Michael Kelly in the Acura of Bellevue. It's the U100 Todd Haas American Dream as they head up the backstretch. Jimmy King in the lead.
J. Michael's boat just doesn't look as fast as it did on that first lap. You're looking at our leader with a quarter of a lap to go to the checkered flag and 400 more points. Jimmy King driving for the Cooper family out of Evansville, Indiana, having a great season in a very, very popular boat, the only one in the field with piston power. And the checkered flag for Jimmy King, the Michigander, driving here in the Tri-Cities. The veteran picks up 400 points. Steve David, speaking of veterans, will come by in the Oboy Oberto with 300.
And it's J. Michael Kelly off the turn. Greg Hopp is buried in his rooster tail, and it's going to be J. Michael Kelly and then Greg Hopp, only about 4 boat lengths behind. You know, I think
sure he's there? I think we lost him.
We lost him somewhere.
Look at this race back here. This is for place on the race course, and Kevin Aylesworth is going to beat Mike Weber in the FormulaBoats.com.
Well, we're not sure what happened to Greg Hopp. Now he comes off the turn. He may have spun the boat. He may have gotten some water, and hard to tell.
We lost Greg Hopp for a moment. He has finished now, but he did lose several places and a lot of distance on the race course at some point. We didn't see what happened to him. How about Kevin Aylesworth getting by Mike Weber in the FormulaBoats.com? So we finally get to write some points in the scorebook. After a heat of races, he was able to correct the first couple of bounces, then deflected off a wave and got sky high. And there you see Dave Villwock, who is not supposed to be part of the air show here at the Atomic Cup. The driver is fine. The boat really isn't too bad, but it did call for stoppage of the heat, and that's the reason we've had the delay as far as the boats are concerned. We've had some weather delays to combine with that. The good news is the racing is going to come fast and furious now the rest of the afternoon, barring the conditions getting worse, and we are shooting for a 6 o'clock final. What's left to decide is just who will be in that final, and we need a couple of more heats of racing to sort that out. Here is the race that'll be coming into the water momentarily, and you'll see.
What's it looking like for Heat 3?
We'll make Heat 3. I mean, most of the damage that we did was you know, just cosmetic, basically tail feathers and front wing, and we've already got the engine back in and gearbox and restarted, and we'll be ready to go, and Dave's ready to get back out on the water.
Now, based on your experience, how many of these damages to the boat will actually impact the speed? Does any minor thing really contribute to not making it go as fast? Or the stuff that you suffer, do you think it really won't have that big an effect?
No, it's not. It won't have any effect at all. I mean, you know, the running surfaces of the boat are the same as they were when we went out there. I mean, you know, the air trap's the same and the angle's the same, and that's the major stuff, you know. And we got the new wing and new tail feathers on there, so it won't affect us one bit.
Pretty scary flip by Dave Villwock earlier. After that's happened, is the mood in camp still good as far as the water being safe, or are you guys trying to move on?
Yeah, Dave said there was a couple rollers down there, and you know, he thought maybe he set the boat down a little hard on one of the rollers and reacted off of it, and you know, he said you know, if he had a second chance, he'd have drove it just a little bit different, but you know, we're gonna have the boat back out on the water. We're ready to go.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. The Elstrom crew getting you ready. Never a slow day when it's boat race weekend.
And hopefully in the final. Mike Allen would like to go on the FormulaBoats.com. He will not be allowed to. He has been disqualified from the running of this heat. We would presume that his status would change also for Heat 3 and he'd be allowed to go there. We will see. These are the 5 boats you will be seeing. The 2.25 gram trucking is that orange and white boat that ran the test lap for us.
Paving, and that's Jeff Bernard.
Take a look at the drivers a little closer. They are out on the race boats now. This is what they look like in the pit area. Dave Villwock will not be among them, however. He'll be in the pits helping with the repairs to his boat. So Dave has to be scratched here for the rerun of Heat 2A.
Dr. Ken Muscatel, next up, U2.25 out of Seattle, Superior Racing Team.
Mike Allen also will be on the beach. He is disqualified. An unfortunate incident before the original start of Heat 2A. Mike made a mistake that's going to cost him a chance to race here.
Chris Bertram, brand new rookie driver, qualified as an unlimited driver this weekend, the U9, and that's Jackson Sports Bar. It'll be the all-white boat that you'll see on your screens.
J.W. Myers, the Seattle youngster in about his fourth season in the Unlimiteds, considered one of the up-and-coming outstanding drivers hired this year by the USA Racing Partners out of Las Vegas, and of course your favorite French-Canadian, Mark.
Jean Theoret from the Montreal area, the U37, the Beacon Plumbing, raced as Miss Seattle and carries some of the colors of the old Miss Seattle.
We have word that one of the boats may have gone back to the pits. Oh, there was Jeff Bernard. We need to give a heads up to him, the Lake Ridge paving boat. Ken Muscatel is out of his boat and back at the transom. He's looking down at the propeller area, Mark. There might be a problem down there, but the 2.25 is not going to go. We are going to be without Dr. Ken Muscatel, which is unfortunate. He was the one that volunteered to take the boat out onto the race course to test the conditions, and now he's had a problem that's going to keep him from going in the restart.
Well, let's keep an eye on that because he's consulting up at the cockpit area now, and they still have a minute and 35 seconds before that boat has to be on the course and running. It may be, now he's stepping off the boat now.
Yeah, and they're calling for the sling, so it's done for him. When a driver walks back and looks over the transom, you quite often have had a propeller problem, and that'll end your heat, if not your day. There may be some other damage as well. So we have a mere 3 boats up and make it 4. We have one more way up in the west turn coming through the infield. That's J.W. Myers. He likes this race boat, Mark. He says it's as good as anything he's ever driven. He drove the Elam at one time, and he's been in some good ones. He says that once he learns this boat and the equipment kind of solidifies under him, he's going to be a contender. So we'll see if that happens right here.
Chris Bertram coming down the front straightaway in the white and green trim, green decals for Jackson Sports Bar. I'm looking at JW, and JW Myers has cut through the infield, and he is going to try to sneak over there. Jeff Bernard thinks he might have lane 1, but now out onto the backstretch comes JW Myers.
It's the 130 mark, which is just about the point where you can step out onto the backstretch, slow way down, crawl around, and hang on to lane 1. So we'll see how this works out. That's JW Myers. He is in lane 1. He is approaching the halfway point of the backstretch, and back behind him about 250 yards is Jeff Bernard in the Lake Ridge paving. You are looking at Chris Bertram. He's actually the 4th boat on the backstretch, trailing the other 3. Way too early to know who is in good position and who isn't. Jean Theoret, though, is not out in lane 3 or 4. He is running over in an area where somebody's going to have to leave him some room, or he would run right up behind J.W. Myers. So we'll see how this sorts out. J.W. pretty early at the 52nd mark. He's already going into the turn, and he's going to have to crawl around here. He will not have great boat speed when he gets to start-finish. We know that already. Barely keeping it up on a plane, and he has to hope that the boat doesn't settle down and stop on him. He's way down at ground idle speed.
And we will be seeing Chris Bertram once again on the outside. Now, it looks like he may be making a start on the front line, but as a rookie, the officials determined exactly when it is that he's allowed to start on the front line and dice for lanes. It looks like he may be on the front line, but he's still going to be on the outside this time, Steve.
Now, JW wants to swing a little wider to scrape some speed off, and he really can't do that because there are boats out there planning on using those lanes, and we got a couple very close together right there.
Jean Theoret and Jeff Bernard almost came together as we're down to the start. 2-1. There's the 0.
It's a legal start. Jean Theoret leading the field across the line. Jeff Bernard right on his hip, and off to his left, J.W. Myers, and those will be the 3 leaders going into the first turn. It's Jean Theoret, the leader in the yellow boat.
What you're looking at on your screen is that flying Frenchman, Jean Theoret, on the inside. The other yellow boat is J.W. Myers. On the outside, the yellow and green boat, and that is Jeff Bernard in the Lake Ridge paving. But up the backstretch, the leader is Jean Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing.
Giving chase is J.W. Myers, but J.W. really cost himself by getting onto the backstretch too early and scraping off so much speed that he just didn't have boat speed. He was not at full song at the start. Jean Theoret was, and that's the difference right now. Jeff Bernard doing a pretty good job. The youngster is going to run up beside J.W. Myers on the outside. All three boats are in the turn now as our leader coming down to finish lap one, Jean Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing.
And now the Beacon Plumbing finishing lap number one. You're looking also at J.W. Myers in the U10, and he finishes lap number one. Jeff Bernard started to reel him in just off the turn, but now has dropped back a full rooster tail behind, and your leader now with more than a full rooster tail is Jean Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing.
J.W. Myers thought better of hanging on to lane one and trying to run inside Theoret. Now he's crossed over the wake, he's gone to the outside, so he's running in lane two. It's unlikely that he can run down the Beacon Plumbing out there because this is one fast race boat. You're looking at your leader up the backstretch. That is Jean Theoret on the left. Far right of your picture is the boat in pursuit. That's J.W. Myers in the U10.
Coming into the west turn, Jean Theoret. He has the commanding lead. You know, Steve, we said this yesterday about him in Heat 1A, and yet he ended up with a fuel violation. So I'm sure that team is trying to make sure that they do not over-rev the engine or go too much gas down the engine and have another fuel violation, because he needs these 400 points.
They did quite a bit of testing this morning, and I'm sure that was the main thing they were looking at was fuel consumption, the speed of the N2 to make sure they didn't have another violation. Now our field is spread out all over the Columbia River. You're looking at the third place boat. That is Jeff Bernard in the Lake Ridge Paving. That's the second boat for Fred Leland's team. He's a teammate to Greg Hopp, who you saw earlier, running in a very comfortable third position. And he may be on his way to scoring enough points to be in a good shape for the final with a good steady field. Whoops, penalty on the 99. That's Jeff Bernard. He encroached on, well, they're going to call him for that incident we saw just before the start, where he got too close to Jean Theoret. They're going to call an encroachment. So far, it's just a monetary penalty, so it wouldn't cost him place or points.
Jean Theoret, lap number 3. This will be the checkered flag lap as he comes off the west turn. Well in hand this time around. Jean Theoret and the Beacon Plumbing heads down to cross the finish line. The end of Heat 2A. Winner Jean Theoret and the checkered flag flies.
So predictably, the Flying Frenchman takes it here with his Beacon Plumbing, very fast boat. J.W. Myers coming by right there in second place. Next boat is well back, about a half a straightaway. That's Jeff Bernard, who challenged at the beginning but simply didn't have enough race boat to run with the leaders, but he'll come by and pick up third place points. So score perhaps in pencil until we can give it to you officially. 400 points for Jean Theoret in the Beacon Plumbing, 300 for J.W. Myers in the U10 Miss Solutions Plus, and then Jeff Bernard will pick up 225.
Looking at right now, and that is hard to miss on the race course.
Gets the trophy for the gaudiest paint job in the history perhaps of boat racing. Also out there is the Hopp family's G boat, and that's the yellow one that looks quite a bit like their UL. He's on the inside right now. You're looking at the fourth boat to come out, the black one on the backstretch. So we're going to have 4 G boats out.
Third.
So a great exhibition by what may be a major part of the future of boat racing, the G-Class. Very, very big blocks, good-sized boats. They're very impressive when you see them in person.
Guys, we would like to get a camera shot down on Mike Ekert. He's got a bunch of smoke pouring out of the boat.
He wants help. He's on fire. That boat is on fire.
He's looking for help. The boat, you can see the flames coming out of the air.
Are you tired of seeing ads everywhere? What if I told you that Pi not only does it block ads, but it
The Unlimited Light B main is taking to the water. Now, the way they do it in the Unlimited Lights, 4 boats.
Columbia River at the start-finish line. Mark Allen along with Steve Montgomery, and we have got some footage from inside the cockpit with Steve David riding along during that Heat 3B.
It's fairly spectacular footage, but it happens quickly. Now, in real time, well, we're going to, first of all, watch it in real time, okay? Watch the left side of your picture, and you will see the bottom of an unlimited hydroplane, flashing. Look at that. That boat went directly over Steve David. I have never seen a picture like that. Wow. I believe we're going to back it up and we can show it to you a little slower next time, because it happens obviously very quickly at 200 miles per hour. But the U-13, driven by J. Michael Kelly out to the left, just got up into the air and went directly over Steve David. That could have been a horrible accident.
Never seen anything like that. You think you've seen it all. Here we come. One more time.
A little slower this time because it happens quickly. And you don't actually see the boat. There it is in the air. Look at this. Look how close that is to Steve David. Those are like gymnasts working together. It was close enough to take the wings off, and yet did not hit the main structure of the boat itself. I can only imagine what, I mean, these guys have nerves of steel, but even Steve David had to be going, whoa, what is coming at me here? Just a spectacular shot. And now he's slowing down, knowing that there's been a problem.
That's the kind of shot that leaves you a little speechless.
Absolutely. I think the fans back in the Midwest watching online have to be going, my gosh, I wouldn't have seen that for several days, and this is incredible coverage. But there's Steve slowing down, I believe, as the water comes back over the bow. Well, he described it as the boat, he was very nonchalant about it. He said the U-13 went over me and hit my tail. Well, it certainly did, but frankly, I'm probably a little more scared right now than he was then. Wow.
Some spectacular shots, guys who were taking that in the truck and racking it up for us and letting us see that terrific work. And for all the folks who are watching on the internet, some spectacular coverage here by all the folks involved. It's worth another look. Let's go take another look at it.
On board with Steve David. Watch off to the left. You don't see J. Michael Kelly until he's in the air. And then suddenly, there he is. A 6,750-pound boat. It looks like it's going to come right through the windshield of Steve David's boat. It actually feathers out just enough that the wing barely clears the front of the boat, and Steve David goes right. The two drivers couldn't have been 3 feet apart at that point, and Kelly was right above Steve David. Wow.
Spectacular.
Great job, guys, in the truck. And I think we can take a personal moment here, Mark Allen, because as outsiders to this operation, we've had the pleasure this weekend of working with an outstanding crew here from KNDU and the Tri-Cities, and Tom and the guys from KHQ in Spokane with the beautiful big truck. General Manager Paul Doogie, when he told the race fans across the country the way he was going to cover this race and the fact that he was going to stream it the way he has with that beautiful high-quality stream, there was a lot of skepticism that it could even be done, and I think Paul and Tom and everybody involved have done a great job of putting away the skeptics.
It's been terrific. The coverage has been absolutely spectacular, and everybody is thrashing down in the pits right now. Let's go down to Scott Reister.
Mark and Steve trying to get some pre-race insight to you guys, except every driver, they're all business. They're all trying to get last preparations done, so actually declining our interview request, so nobody able to talk. If you look behind me, though, you can see the Vilwalk team try to get their last prep.
Myers did this earlier, took the inside very, very early, plowed water all the way up around the end of the race course and secured lane 1 that way. We'll see if he's able to do it again. Theoret tucks in behind him, Vilwalk running up the course behind those two, and we see red to the right of J.W. Myers, so that is either the U3 or the Formula boats.
I think that may very well be Jimmy King in the U3 Conover Insurance. Steve David now starts to bring up the field, and we've got the Formula boats also coming up through the field as well. Dave Vilwalk again going to be in an outside lane, not way to the inside, but in an outside lane, probably a lane number 3. It looks like he may be sliding into 3 or even 4.
Kevin Aylesworth fans down in San Diego, we have bad news. He's at the dock. His boat did not start, so we have 6 boats running. Theoret still will have to trail the field now. We got to see what happens here with J.W. Myers on the inside. He's going to have a great lane, but does he have enough race boat to hold off all the speed that will be out to his right? Look at this beautiful shot now as they turn toward us with the setting sun lighting up those rooster tails. Watch the clock at 7, 6, 5. Here comes the start, Mark.
Everybody's backing down just a little bit. Looks like now they will be legal by about 3 boat lengths, and 3 of them lead up across. It's J.W. Myers, Jimmy King, and Dave Vilwalk coming across the line dead even as they cross the line and head for that Blue Bridge turn.
In his previous heats, Vilwalk has driven around the field in the first turn. Can he do it here? here. He's got a lot of speed over there. J.W. Myers still okay on the inside, but Jimmy King sticks his red nose out in front of him. We've at least a two-boat race up the backstretch,
and now
we see some orange. Look at this. 3 boats side by side accelerating to 170, 180, close to 200 miles per hour now, and it's Jimmy King with the horsepower to stick his nose out ahead.
Halfway up the backstretch, Jimmy King, about a 1-boat lead over Dave Villwock. He's outside of him. He's buried in the rooster tail. You can't see him, and it's J.W. Myers on the inside in the Miss Solutions. Plus, this is going to be a drag race all the way around. Dave Villwock and Jimmy King dead even. A tight turn by J.W. Myers as they come off the turn and head for the end of lap number 1.
J.W. had it right on the buoy line, and look at Jimmy King. The Pistons are screaming. Dave Villwock is going to go by him right at start-finish, but King will still have the inside, and he still has J.W. Myers off to his left. Those 3 boats are going to be neck and neck as our first turn camera picks them up. Watch this turn.
You've got J.W. Myers on the inside. He still controls the race course, but Jimmy King has dropped back about 2 boat lengths, and Dave Villwock leads off the turn, now about 1 boat length, and you could throw a blanket really over all 3 of them. Only about 3 boat lengths between first, Dave Villwock and the Elam, second, the Conover Insurance and Jimmy King, and third, J.W. Myers in this Miss Solutions Plus.
Jimmy King's boat hopped just a bit right at the exit pin, and it cost him a little bit as Villwock was able to move away. Jimmy is slowing down. J.W. goes by him. We heard a pop. The U3 has lost an engine, and Jimmy King is out of it. And now it's up to J.W. Myers in the U10 to chase Dave Villwock, and that's exactly what he's doing. He has position on the inside, but he has perhaps the fastest race boat in the history of this sport to try to catch as Villwock comes down to finish lap 2.
Flying the boat across the start-finish line at the end of lap 2 is Dave Villwock, and J.W. Myers loses a little ground as they come down the straightaway. Your leader heading into the Blue Bridge turned by a full rooster tail length. Now J.W. Myers has moved to the outside, so Dave Villwock has the course under his control.
And we have a story back in 3rd place because it's Jean Theoret. He was the trailer boat. If he stayed legal and started behind the field, he has accomplished quite a bit. He's gotten by Mike Allen in the red boat and Steve David as well. That's quite an accomplishment, Mark.
Halfway up the backstretch, you've got Dave Villwock now leading by 3 full rooster tails. He has the race under control on the 3rd of 5 times around. I think we failed to mention, but the final is a 5-lap final, and they are still running, but J.W. Myers now has fallen back, and Dave Villwock has this course under control.
We still have 4 boats in less than a quarter of a lap. They are led by Dave Villwock. It's a beautiful sight as they turn toward us, and the setting sun lights up those rooster tails. Villwock comes by us now at start-finish, and the overlap back to the U10 is just about this long as J.W. Myers comes by right now. So
if somebody has hooked or missed a buoy, and I think that may be Jean Theoret.
Theoret is driving through the infield. He apparently missed a buoy. He talked about the sun being a problem for him as he headed west, and he apparently missed a buoy. He's gone now to pick it up, and that's put Steve David back up into 3rd place.
Dave Villwock now off the first turn and heading up the backstretch. 2nd place, J.W. Myers, now just off that 2nd turn, and so it's almost a half a straightaway lead for Dave Villwock on the 4th of 5 times around.
So Jean Theoret continues to give us thrills. We were looking entirely the other direction, and when we looked up, he was driving through the infield, apparently feeling he had to go back and pick up a buoy. Jimmy King was going to give Dave Villwock all he wanted in this heat. His engine went away and kept us from the excitement that would have provided. Too bad, because now it looks like it's going to be all Villwock as he comes down to take the white flag. He'll have one lap to go for another Columbia River Championship, and Dave, of course, has a few of those already. Now, J.W. Myers comes by. Pretty good weekend for the team from Las Vegas in the U10 if they hang on to this 2nd place position.
Yeah, considering they ripped the bottom out of the boat in Detroit, and they had a lot of problems. They had to fix this boat and get it back into shape. So J.W. getting some seat time, but he is a full turn now behind your leader, Dave Villwock, off of turn number 1, the Blue Bridge turn, on his last time around.
And as you watch Dave Villwock, the 3rd place boat, Steve David, has just come by us here, so he is nearly a half lap back. We have some pretty good racing on the front straightaway here that our camera will pick up as it comes by, because the red Formula Boats is being chased by Jean Theoret. They are racing for 4th and 5th place, but putting on a pretty good show back there. We're showing it to you now. As they come into the turn, we'll go back to the leader as he heads up here, because he'll be taking the checkered flag. And there is Dave Villwock turning to the east for the final time this weekend. He'll come down to take the checkered flag and the championship here in Atomic Cup 2006.
And another tight turn by J.W. Myers. He's not given up, but Dave Villwock has crossed the finish line in first place, and it will be the U10 Miss Solutions Plus with J.W. Myers in second place, and our third place boat now at the top of the final turn, and that should be Steve David and the Oboy Oberto. And we've got a pretty good little race here between John Theoret and Mike Allen for fourth and fifth place as they come through the turn.
Which is the race you're looking at right now. In the foreground, you see Steve David coming by to take third place, but let's watch this little scrap here for fourth and fifth. As they turn toward us side by side, it looks like the boat on the outside, Sean Theoret, who remarkably enough came from the trailer boat position, passed everybody, then did an extra half lap when he had to go pick up a buoy, and is going to come up with a fourth place finish here. No small accomplishment as he finishes ahead of Mike Allen in the FormulaBoats.com. So the final heat kind of went according to the racing form, but it did give us some excitement, especially in the first heat, because of the great start by J.W. Myers and the apparent ability of Jimmy King and the piston-powered U3 to run with Dave Villwock. In the end, too much driver, too much race boat.
Let's send it down to the pits and Scott Reister.
Yeah, here with Rick Swanson after that incredible win. Rick, how about that day? You start out with a flip, you end up winning the rest of the way. How are you guys feeling?
Hey, man, we are absolutely elated. That was just phenomenal. Dave just drove the pants off the boat out there, just flew it around the corner. Oh, we're just ecstatic. I mean, we didn't expect to be here after blowing over, but you know, here we are. So, I mean, what can we say? This is just awesome.
All right, we're waiting for Villwock. He's pulling in right now. We'll try to get a word with him in just a moment, as Dave Villwock is now a 3-repeat champion here on the Columbia River. Back to you, Mark and Steve.
You know, Steve, we keep track of wins and losses.
Scott, if you can hear me, grab the guy behind you, Sven Elstrom, who is the patriarch of that family and a delightful guy to talk to. He doesn't usually get very excited, but he might be right now. So, Scott, if you're able to do that, just give us the heads up and we will throw it back to you. Dave Villwock is going to take a victory lap with the hatch open as he comes into the pit area, but he'll be down there with you shortly. A lot of happiness in certainly one of the high-quality race teams, Mark, that we've ever seen assembled in this sport. The one run by Eric Elstrom out of Ballard, Washington. Their shop is about 2 city blocks from the Bardol Manufacturing Company, which gives them some history right there.
Well, it hasn't always been that way for the Elstrom team, though. They started out getting their lumps and bumps just like everybody else, and with the boat that debuted in 2001, the boat that won here today, they really stepped up the competition. I was going to say, we keep track of drivers' wins and losses. Now, I guess we have to start our flip and win list. We have 2 tied for the most flips and wins, and that would be Mark Evans and Dave Villwock.
Out on the race course, guys, in the truck, you can see the rescue boat going out to Jimmy King, and that's for a very good reason. Jimmy has a plane to catch, and they have figured out that if they tow the boat back into the pits, he'll miss his plane. So they're going to go out with the rescue boat and get Jimmy King off the U3 floating on the backstretch and try to get him over to the dock and to Tri-Cities International in time to catch his plane back to Michigan. This all took a little bit longer today than any of us thought it would, so I'm sure there are a few people with travel plans and things that have to be changed. So Jimmy is okay. He just needs a ride back to the pit area a little faster than he was going to get if he stayed with his race boat.
Taking a look at the rescue boat over there right now, and they'll get him off the boat and back into the pits, off over to the airport as quickly as they can.
Maybe they could put him in the official's helicopter here and take him right to TCI.
There you go. There's a possibility.
Scott, as soon as you have a driver down there, we'll throw it to you. We know there is bedlam in the pit area after a victory like this. This is the second Mark Allen in the history of the flip and win. My little buddy Mark Evans, who raced many times here in the Tri-Cities out of Chelan, did it once in Seattle. That boat probably had more damage internally than this one. This one landed right side up and didn't have a lot of water in the boat messing up the electrical systems or anything like that. New tail feathers, new canard, and they were off and racing, really didn't miss a step all day.
Nope, they didn't. They sat out that heat. They had to because they were the reason for the stoppage. They got back in heat 3, and then in the final heat, and Dave just ran away from everybody but the first lap. The first lap was one of the most exciting laps, 3 abreast all the way around. Dave Villwock, J.W. Myers, and Jimmy King, and that was worth the price of admission.
We saw Dave come off the boat. He's into a cluster of media now, and fortunately we have a big, healthy youngster in there, Scott Reister, doing our reporting. He'll be among the first to get